Love you guys. It's going to be beautiful.
Gano, good evening, everyone. Welcome. My name is Jody Harbour. I'm a co-founder of Grandmother's Voice, a grassroots organization and platform elevating Indigenous wisdom. It's an honor to be here with each of you tonight and those who will be watching in the recording at a later time, in ceremony, lifted by the heartbeat of Mother Earth and held in the sacred presence of the ancestors. Each week, we gather in this circle with grandmothers and grandfathers from across the 7 continents, elders whose lives are rooted in sacred knowledge, ancestral memory, and a deep commitment to healing, truth, and spirit. Their voices carry the wisdom we need in these times, born not of theory, but of lived experience, of ceremony, of connection to land and spirit. This is not just a series, it's a remembering, a weaving of story and spirit that calls us back to who we are and to who we are becoming. Now is the time. Now is the time to gather, to listen, to honor the voices of the elders who have carried these teachings through generations. I'd like to thank Grandmother Susan and Grandmother Gayle, and for those of you who know how wonderful they are, and if you don't, you get to meet them through this beautiful program that they've created, and an honor to work alongside Riverside and Peace with Justice Project. So without further ado, Grandmother Susan, thank you so much. Again, I love you.
Thank you, Jody. I appreciate that so much. And we're so grateful for your platform. I have never seen anything as beautiful as this. Zoom, everybody is really familiar with Zoom, but this is to me, far better than Zoom ever could be. And I'm grateful for that and for your team, Matt and Jen and everybody that's helped us to do what we're doing. Grateful to be here and thank you. My role is very simple. I am simply here to introduce the voices that will be speaking from the heart of the mother. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and begin with our beautiful grandmother, Gayle Cosmas, who is Black Bear. And I will tell you more about her as soon as we're finished with that. And then I'll tell you about our elder Jim White as well at that point. But for now, grandmother, if you could lead us in, please, into this sacred space.
Hey, oh, 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 hey, hey, hey. Oh hey 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 oh hey 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 oh hey hey heyことの鐘とのけこねや音のパナラコテナおへやおへへへなこへへへねやこへへへねやこへへやへへやへへやほほほ。
Thank you so much, Gayle. That was beautiful. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Gayle for the grandmother that she is and for her voice that comes to us tonight. And then, as I said, we'll do Elder Jim White as soon as we're done. But I want to say, and I don't like to say too much, but I cannot say enough about Gayle. And I say that from a strictly, first of all, my own personal relationship with her, when I'd had a vision and Ted Silverhand helped me understand that it was to get the home that I'm living in now. And I was completely unprepared for that. And it was chaotic because I had to move from my farm and I didn't know what I was doing. And Gayle showed up out of nowhere and put my entire house in order, literally, labeled everything. She got everything set up. I have never been so highly organized in my life and never been so careful to stay organized so that she doesn't come back and catch me. She is amazing. She is such a strong woman, and her relationship with the different things that are there, the dragons, and I don't want to say too much about her, but I will tell you that her artwork is phenomenal. And she has, if anybody comes to my home, those are the first things that people comment on are the paintings that Gayle has done. And I will say that there was one experience that we had that has never been duplicated, but that people remember all the time. And that was when the Mamos said that out in the front of my house in the Mississippi River, there is a white serpent. And Gayle didn't even know about that. And she was standing there one day, and the serpent lifted up out of the river, went straight up in the air and down into the heart of the labyrinth. And I'm not going to go any further because that's her, that's who she is. But I will tell you that if anyone doesn't know Gayle, by the end of this talk, you will have learned a sliver of the magnificent being that she is. So with that, I'm going to turn this to you, Gayle. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And it took me 2 months to get you organized. And I made you work too. Yeah, that was fun times and hard work. Yeah, about the white dragon. That was last year. And then dove into the labyrinth, went under the earth, and then came up under her house in her living room and up into me. And it was so powerful. She was sitting on the opposite couch and it knocked her over. But I'll get back to that dragon in a while. My heritage is, like you said, around the world, and my heritage is from around the world. My ancestors from Eastern Europe, Western Europe, the Arctic, and Canada. And and I've never lived in any of those communities. Even the indigenous community that was like half an hour away from my home and my grandfather lived in, I wasn't brought up in that community. So I didn't have the advantage of their tradition and their stories and their ceremonies. But what I did have was a connection to Mother Earth. And so that's who has been my teacher all these years. I listen to the trees, I listen to the earth, and it guides me and talks to me and comforts me and makes me feel safe and secure. And it's my superpower. Mother Earth is my superpower. Yeah. It's been a difficult life. And I talked about this at a recent gathering, and I'll get back to that one in a bit. But I died at birth. I had a blood disorder. And so they had to spend 7 days draining my blood and replacing it with new blood, healthy blood. And it wasn't until recently that I realized that within that healthy blood that they replaced it with, that I also inherited the ancestors of my blood donors. So all the wisdom that I've been gathering and remembering from across Europe and to the Arctic and beyond also included the donors of my blood. And so I was remembering things of cultures that I had nothing to do with in my heritage, that I know that my family had never been there. And yet I was remembering things and knowing things that I shouldn't know. So that made things complicated.
very complicated. But I said, a friend of mine said, well, we could cut the cord on that. And I said, well, no, they've always been family to me. And they saved my life. So I owe them. I owe them to help them heal their ancestors from this position. And so I've been working on that as well. So my earliest, I work with women, mostly women, because of the disadvantages that we have of being overpowered, controlled, and abused from a very early age. And I was one of those as a victim of abuse since very early childhood. And so I carried that trauma through my life, and then wanting to write it out. I got to write it out. I got to get it out of me. And I finally did. And I took it to an acquaintance of mine who was a writer, not only novels, but he also wrote movies and television series for the Canadian Broadcast Corporation. And so I took him my scribbles and I said, do you think anybody would be interested in my story? And he said, after reading it, he said, I believe I could sell this to CBC to make it into a movie, and I'd love to write the script. So he did. He wrote the script, and it aired in 1983 in Canada for the premiere season, you know, when they used to have the big premiere movie at the beginning of the season. And then it aired in 1984 in the United States, and then in 85 in South Africa and the Netherlands. And now I'm just working with CBC now to see if we can start airing it again, because it was used in sexual assault centers across Canada for 10 years to help women to have the courage to speak out, that they had nothing to be ashamed of, and not to be keeping it inside and festering them and making them ill. It's time to speak out. And so this movie has helped women, millions of women, partway around the world. And so I'm asking CBC to let me show it again, because it's still needed out there for people to be helped. So these some of these trips I take is I go to, let me see, around Europe. It's the Bavaria in Germany, and Belgium, Switzerland, and then I go on to Iceland and Greenland, and then and I have these seminars where I help women step back into their power, to let go of the pain and suffering, and to let go of the family patterns that have been plaguing them all of their lives, the repeated patterns of neglect or abuse or control, which is what I also had to let go of, and save my own daughters from the same fate as myself. So this is what I've been doing tirelessly around the world, helping people to identify who they really are inside, and not who they were told to be outside of themselves, to step into their power, because we really need the women to step into the leadership roles of the corporations and into the government and take charge. It's the women who's going to save the world, not the men. Sorry, Jim. But it just seems that us women, we're nurturers. We're creators. We create life. We don't take it. We help people grow and feel safe. And that's what the world needs, is to feel that safety and that nurturing that us women provide and have provided since the beginning of time. I mean, we're the ones who create life. We're the ones that bring souls from the universe down through our body and create new humans to go out there and live and be supportive if they're not damaged by their upbringing. And it's hard. I know it's hard, because we repeat what we're taught generation after generation, and because this is the way it's always been done. And sometimes now we have to look at how things have been always done and see, well, okay, this is good. Let's keep that. That's helped me grow. That made me stronger. That was beneficial for my life. And then there are things that haven't been beneficial. And those things that keep us from growing, those things that instill fear, those are the things we have to look at and say, okay, what of these can I let go or adjust or change so that I can be stronger with who I am, the self-realization of self-awareness, so that you can go out and be who you really are and do what you really want to do without fear. I guess my autism has helped me with this fearlessness, because I'm not smart enough to be fearful. I travel all over the world with a cane and a walker and a wheelchair and and a will in case I die. They know what to do with my body. If I die here, do that. If I die here, do that. And then my phone, call my children. But it's not going to stop me. I'm just going to keep going until I can't go anymore. So I just come back from Tepoztlán, Mexico, and I was invited to be a speaker there with 12 other grandmothers from the Americas. So it was called the Voice of the Grandmothers of the Americas. And so I represented Canada, but I also, because I was from North America, northern part of North America. So I brought water, Arctic water, from Western Canada, from Western Greenland, and Western Iceland, because those are all part of North America. So I brought the water because I was a water carrier. So I brought the water from the high Arctic. Then there was some indigenous elders there from the United States and from Mexico and Guatemala and Brazil and Colombia and Chile and Argentina. I've never been hugged and kissed by so many women in my life. They sent me home feeling so loved and so strong. They're so caring and so generous. I had one woman I had, come to talk to me and with a translator, and I told her that I admired her skirt because I wanted to say something nice back. And then she stripped it off and gave it to me. I said, no, 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 no. She says, no, I want to give this to you. So clothes off their back. Unbelievable. It was just the most amazing, powerful experience I've ever had in my life. So when I was in Greenland, I was I had water from the melted ice of Russell Glacier, which I drank some of it. And with that drinking of the water, I was infused with the ancient memory, 9 million year old water. And I was infused with its ancient memory, and it spoke to me, and it sent me on missions. It sent me on a mission to New Mexico back in 2012 and said, take my water and give it to the elders. And it was the Wisdom of the Origins Conference. And there was elders from all over the world, and each sharing their wisdom from their part of the world. And I was there with little bottles of ancient water from Greenland. And as I'm handing it out to the elders, I'm telling this is the water from the high Arctic. And they cried. They said, we were supposed to be doing a ceremony the following weekend, and we were supposed to bring ancient water, and we didn't know where we were going to get it. So I'm there handing out, here's your ancient water, here's your ancient water, so that you can go and do your ceremonies. And I just follow the guidance. I get these little voices in my ear, little visions in my mind, and okay, I've got to do that. And then without knowing why or how, I just follow the guidance, and it's always amazing. There was one, I was there for the end of the Mayan calendar celebration, fire ceremony, with grandmother Florida Maya and Tata. And then the next day was the Hopi celebration with the standing woman doing the first light ceremony. And it was a water ceremony. And I took some of the Arctic water and added to her water dish. And she sang into the rising sun. And I just, so with my eyes closed, we all stood facing the rising sun. And as I'm standing there, I could see a vision within my mind's eye of a winged serpent rising up out of the earth. And then it rose up 3 times and then dropped back down, rose up again. And I thought, interesting. I wonder what that's all about. So the ceremony's over. We go for breakfast, and then we go to our breakout session. So I went to the teachings for of the Hopi, and then in that session, they explained the importance of that morning. It was the birth of the new dawn, the day when the winged serpent rises up out of the earth. And I'm going, oh my, I saw that. I didn't know what I was seeing when I saw it, but then when they explained what I saw, I shared the vision that, yeah, I saw that rising up out of the earth. And I go, these are the most amazing experiences. They just appear out of nowhere. And I follow the guidance, I follow the dream, and then I'm blessed with all these beautiful, beautiful experiences. I've been down to Grandmother Susan's a couple of times, and been in ceremony on her mounds down there, and powerful, powerful experiences there. So much so, I swooned and had to find a rock to sit on before I fainted because of the power surge coming through during the ceremony. Beautiful spot on the Mississippi. I remember being there in an ancient time, and so that's why I was drawn back there to re-experience the energy of the Mississippi. So in Iceland, just this past June, a group of women asked if they could join me. We want to go to Iceland. We want to go with you. So I had women from Alaska, Switzerland, Germany, Portugal, and Iceland itself. And we drove across Iceland in caravans and took a ferry up to Densey Island. And we did a summer solstice ceremony at the Arctic Circle in Iceland just this past June. And very powerful ceremony. I've met up with the dragons of Iceland many times on my visits there. And then of course we talked about meeting up with the dragon of the Mississippi River while I was visiting there. And then when I went to Mexico, in Bavaria, my co-founder, I have a school, an online school called the Academy of Timeless Wisdom, the wisdom from the beginning of time. And she's a crystal dragon, Suzanne. So, and then I go to Mexico and I meet the green dragon of Tapotzland and the legend of the green dragon. And I thought, okay, there's something interesting going on here. Back in 2016, I was walking with my Greenlandic mentor, uncle. And in 2016, his nephew posted a picture on Facebook. He was a photographer, and he took a picture of this dragon in the sky, the Northern Lights. So this beautiful green dragon in the Northern Lights, and the Greenlandic people had embraced me so much so that I was doing an altar cloth and honoring the teachings that they were sharing with me and helping me to heal myself, because some of my ancestral background goes back to Greenland. And so I put that green dragon on my altar cloth back in 2016. And I've been carrying it around the world with me all these years. And then when I got to Mexico, I found out that the green dragon that I've been carrying around on my altar cloth was from Mexico. And it was time for me to meet in person. So this dragon, the green dragon of Tapotzland, it came in through my back. And now its essence is left in my spine. And whenever I hugged one of the women in this beautiful gathering from South America and Central America, the green dragon who's living in my spine would come out through my heart and kiss them on the heart. And I'm going, and they could feel it. They said, I felt that. And I'm going, more dragon energy. So one of the young men that was one of our helpers there, after my talk about the water, he come up to me and he says, I'm the yellow dragon, and I would like to sing you a song and play my drum, which he did. And so he wants me to work with him and his elders with the dragon energy that they're exploring. So we'll see where that goes. It's always an adventure, always new times and new discoveries. And I never know what's going to happen next. It's always a surprise party. whatever the creator's involved, it's always a surprise party. And I am blessed to be part of that party. So I am going to close because I want to give Jim plenty of time to talk so that we don't run out of time. And he's sitting there in Nebraska. And I am saying thank you from Northern Ontario, Canada. And oh, the pictures are coming up. Right. So there we have a picture of me in Switzerland and picture of me atop of Machu Picchu. Me and my new regalia that my ancestors guided me to create. And I see myself there in Greenland when I was initiated as a shaman by my mentor, Gayle-Allaq. And then at the Arctic Circle in Iceland in ceremony with the women from around the world. Oh, Belgium. I'm at the Dragon Fountain. Oh, and in Bavaria there when I was invited to be a speaker with Talcancina. He's a Dakota elder. And so he invited me to come and talk about basically what I talk about today in Bavaria. So those are some of the highlights of my life on the road. We didn't have a lot of time. It could be a whole slideshow. But anyway, I'm going to give it back to Susan to introduce Jim. And thank you, Jim, for your patience. And I hope you're not getting too cold.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just love to hear you when you talk and all the adventures that you have and all the people that you touch with the messages that you bring. And we're all so different and yet not. We're all one. We're all united in the circle. And that's the most beautiful part about this. So thank you, Gayle. I love you more than you know. Thank you. Thank you. So now to move to Jim, Elder Jim, grandfather. And I can honestly say I don't really know you. Andy Mac Boogaloo, called me up and he said, I have this wonderful elder. And he started to talk and he started to tell him. And tell me about him. And as I was listening, some different things started to happen. And I asked Jim's permission. I'm not going to speak too much about what he's going to talk about because that's his. But I did ask his permission to bring somebody else into our circle tonight. It's someone who's already crossed to the other side, somebody that he and I both hold in our hearts. And so I asked his permission to be able to speak of him. Mac had called me up about, I think it was maybe, I don't know how long it was, not that long ago, maybe 2 years. And he said, oh, I met someone who knows you. And I said, really? And he said, yes, his name is Bob Barnhill. And I said, oh, I know Bob. I think he met him with you, Jim. And I was so excited because I just love him. And he said, Bob says you owe him money. And I said, what? I owe him money? And he said, yes. He said he came down to one of your gatherings and he was there to play the drum for a dance and he never got paid for his gas. And I felt horrible. I thought, oh my gosh, it wasn't my dance. It was someone else. And I had just assumed that they were going to take care of that honorarium and what we call koha. And I thought, surely I never knew. So I was devastated. So I started trying to call him and it was on a Wednesday. And I called his phone and I called his phone and I called it and I called it and he never answered. And that's not like him. And Thursday came, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I got a phone call back on Monday that while I had been ringing his phone, it was tree day at the Sundance in Oklahoma. And they were bringing the tree down. And Bob was drumming. And as the tree came down to the shawls of the women, Bob sank to the ground and he passed. And I was just stunned. Oh, my heart was so full of love for him. So I knew that I had to get that money quickly to the family to help them. And so I started calling around, and I couldn't find his son. I couldn't find anybody, but I found a nephew. And I said, please, can I please offer this money to you? Because somehow I missed getting it to Bob. And I want to make sure that it's there for the family. And he said, yes, that would be fine. Then I found out that Chief Golden Light Eagle was doing his Sundance up at Pickstown the first year it was being done in South Dakota. And so I said to my friend, Willie McLeod, we have to go. So we jumped in the car and we tore up there. And it was Friday. Sundance starts on Thursday morning, but it was already Friday afternoon. And I felt so, I'd never met anyone there at that dance. I brought tobacco and I gave it to Chief Golden Light Eagle, and I asked his permission. And I said, I'll understand if it's not appropriate, but I would love to dance in the arbor for Bob. And he said, of course. And then I said, well, can Willie come too? And he'd never even been to a Sundance. And he said, of course. And so we got to dance for Saturday and Sunday for Bob. And that opened the door for me to meet all of the people from the Serpent Man that I now know, and Guy Zafir and Nikki Zafir and all the wonderful people that I met. I believe that if we remain true into our integrity, that the doors will swing wide open. And that's what love is all about. And that's what these gatherings now that we're doing with our talks. So with Grandmother Gayle and all the wonderful messages that she shared about how we can go without even understanding how we end up there, be all over the world delivering the message, because it comes through us. It's not of us, but through us as the hollow bone. And so, Jim, I can't tell you how, excuse me, happy I was to hear that you were going to be coming on to our talk, because I believe you brought Bob with you. And so I honor you as his friend, and I honor all of us in the circle, because we never know. So thank you. And with that, Jim, I'm going to let you say more. We've got a little bit of your bio online. I'm going to let you introduce yourself then from here and say what message is coming through for you. And thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Jim White, and I'm from the Santee, Dakota Indian Reservation here in Santee, Nebraska. Um, I'm an enrolled tribal member here, and my Dakota name is Wakia Wapichie, moves like thunder. That was from my great grandfather. He passed his name down to me in a Yuwipi ceremony, and you know. Talk a little bit about Bob. He was one of my very good friends. And when I first started my Sundance, it's going on 10 years ago now. We just finished our 9th year. So he was one of my singers. I only had 2 singers here, and he was one of them. And Bob was always really supportive of me and during Yuwipi ceremonies and Luwampis and Inipis and Sundance ceremony and Vision Quest. And so I really miss Bob too, and it's really crazy because when we first did this practice run here tonight, all these coyotes were out here yelping, and that was one of Bob's favorite songs, was the coyote song. And so I kind of just thought about it, put it 2 and 2 together. So in a way, he was here with us, and I'm glad to talk about him in a good way. Um, Myself, I grew up as a half breed, as half white and half Dakota, and I had a hard life. Um, my dad was alcoholic, my mom was alcoholic, and my grandma and grandpa raised me. So that's why I got to learn a lot of the culture and the customs and the traditions and the history is because of them. And so growing up on a reservation, it wasn't always it wasn't easy, it was hard, very difficult. And myself, I turned into an alcoholic too. And I had a hard life from the age of 15 to the age of 27. And, you know, basically my life was a mess, you know. But anyway, at the age of 27, I did quit drinking. I sobered up through the help of a sweat lodge. I attended AA meetings and things of sobriety. And, I've been sober since February 1991, you know. And so as life went on for me, um, everything was difficult. Uh, Sobriety was difficult. Got married, had a couple of sons. I raised 3 older kids as my own. Um, Went to a divorce, uh, family deaths due to alcohol, drugs, suicide, um, cancer, diabetes. And so um, I had to take a place of within my family of um, doing the ceremonies and doing the prayers and for my whole extended family, my whole Tioshpa, you know. And I had a dream, a spiritual dream that the great creator gave to me during Yuwipi ceremony. I had it at the age of 35, and I did not do that dream till 17 years later, till the age of 52. And the reason why I did that dream is my nephew committed suicide, and my aunt told me to go and pray, do something for our family. So I finally fulfilled that dream, you know. And at that time, my life was in shambles. I was going through a divorce. I thought I was going to lose my 2 sons, never see them again. Um, but it was actually just the opposite. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I got to know God. I got to know the Creator. Um, I got to learn that I wasn't this terrible person that I was. People meant me out to be, and then I believed it, and so through that, these ceremonies, the spirits, they started to guide me in a way of self enrichment, self esteem, spiritual intelligence, uh, spiritual knowledge, and now all I do is I just share with people, whoever needs it, you know. And I just in my way, I'm just a servant, you know. I just serve Creator or God. Whatever happens, happens, you know. But I know that a lot of us people, we've been beaten down to nothing. A lot of our spiritual knowledge and our identities have been stripped from us and beaten out of us. And it's a hard path to gain that back, but it is possible because I'm an example of that. And it's people you got to worry about, not not the spirits. Spirits are always there wanting to help you. It's just you want to help yourself, you know. So to me, I just do what I do. I just pray when people need prayers, no matter where it be. Um, Sometimes I travel. lots of times I just like to stay home and do my ceremonies here because the spirits are always around here, and they know this home, and they know where I live and how I live, and so I I just keep it pretty simple, pretty plain, and I just I want people to know that hey, that you are important, that you are loved, and that the Creator does love you, you know, but you have to believe it yourself too, you know. And so um, I go through a lot of things. I have a lot of dreams. Uh, Dream almost every night. Lots of times, dead people come to me, deceased people come to me. A lot of dead medicine men come to me, sharing things with me, showing me things. And so I say what's shared, and hopefully that will help that person that needs to know that knowledge, that information. So I'm also a big Bigfoot guy. I really love Bigfoot. Um, I had an experience here on the reservation, actually about 2 miles from my house here in August of 2017, and I seen Bigfoot in his spiritual form, and it got to the point where over a period of time, that spirit actually came into one of my ceremonies, and it was very intimidating, very scary. At that time, I was tied up in a boat in the Yuwipi, and when he came to me and he lifted me up, and I'm a big guy. I'm about 6'2", about 305 pounds. He picked me up like nothing, and he told me a message to tell other people there, and I did. And then he laid me back down and untied me. So, I have those kind of experiences in my life, and I smell a skunk outside. That was my great grandma's Indian medicine, was a skunk. And anyway, I just know that anything is possible if you just pray towards it and believe in it. And now that we're talking, like I said, there's a skunk out here. I smell it. That was my great grandma's Indian medicine, and she used that to cure. Back then, they had pneumonia, and my grandma said they had a thing called consumption, and my great grandma used the skunk oil to cure her patients. She was an Indian nurse, what I call an Indian nurse, a woman that doctored with roots and herbs and animal parts and prayer and song. And so that's why I know they're always around me. And I just do what I could do. And so, I mean, if you guys got any questions, uh, I'd like to answer them. So, but, okay. Well, I'll continue on then. You know, you talked about my uncle, Chief Golden Light Eagle. His name was Lauren Zephyr, and I got to know him later in life. I knew of him, but I never really hung around him until later. And he was a guy that was always wanting to help people, no matter what color your skin was, and he was really into the star knowledge, uh, spiritual part of things, and and he would always like to come over here though. He'd always like to come my place, and I'd like to come sweat with you at the sweat lodge, and then he would come into the Yuwipi with me, and he would ask different prayers or different questions and stuff. So we would try to get them answered for him through the spirits. And so, I dealt with a lot of different medicine men. I learned with a lot of them. I danced with a lot of them. I vision quest with a lot of them. I went to the Luwampi ceremonies, Yuwipi ceremonies, and Dakota, Lakota, Nakota. You know, um, I learned a lot. You know, and when I was younger too, I was always going to ceremonies, and I'd ask the medicine man to, interpret dream for me, and I put up the ceremony and the food, all the tobacco offerings, and gifts afterwards, and they would never tell me, what it meant. And so I went to several different medicine men, and they'd always never tell me. And so I got to a point where I was kind of frustrated and upset, like, why do I put up these ceremonies when they're not going to help me? And finally, the spirit come to me one day and said, "You know the answers to your questions. Why do you bother them? If you already know." And so I started. What I did is I call them spiritual experiments. If I had a dream, I would go into a sweat lodge, and um, I'd ask the spirits, what does this mean? And lots of times, they didn't answer me. And then next time I was thinking, well, maybe I should make some tobacco offerings. And then I did that and went into the sweat lodge again and asked the spirit for answers to my dreams. And then just by offering them the tobacco and the pipe and the water, the stones and the food, and then they would give me an answer. So I learned that lots of times we don't know everything. We have to learn how to troubleshoot things, I guess, to get the answers we need, or what the answers to our questions. So, with my Sundance family, I got a small Sundance here, and a lot of my people, I'm always there for them daily, and we communicate constantly, one way or another. And so it puts our family more knowledgeable because, I'm sharing information and they're sharing dreams or questions, and then we usually pray on it and hopefully get the answer that we're looking for, that is helpful. So that's kind of where I've been, is just keeping in my own little circle here, in Santee on our reservation here. And I traveled a little bit, um, and it was okay, and it was fun and everything. And but a lot of the people, um, I know they mean well and everything, but they don't completely understand, the way we pray and how we do things. Not saying it's nothing wrong with it. It's just saying that um, it's hard to relay if somebody don't completely understand you. So um, I've been to a Sundance last year down in southern Mexico by the Guatemalan border in the mountains, and I believe they're Mayan people, and they're very beautiful people. And it's like they knew what the ceremony was about, but they didn't know the all the details, but they knew exactly the gist of it. And so I think that's where this has to go, is that people need to relearn their spiritual abilities, their spiritual histories, intelligence, knowledge, and then I think people can just communicate just by just being around each other. And so, like I said, in this United States, they dumb down everybody. And that's why there's so much chaos, you know, and they unfortunately the higher ups, I believe they want to keep it that way. That way they have control, you know. But one thing I know is you can't control spirits, and you can't control creator, you know. And if you think you do, you're crazy. You're gonna end up going crazy yourself, by trying that. But like I said, my dream was Yuwipi, that meant to tie me up in a star quilt. They tie me up. I look like a mummy. Lay me down on my face and on my stomach, and they turn off the lights in the room and start singing the spiritual songs. And then the spirits will come in, and tell me things, show me things. And then when the prayers are all said, then at the end, they'll untie me. And then we'll turn the lights on, and then I'll share what they said. So it's a very difficult thing, to do. And it's a very serious ceremony, you know, because I'm at that time I'm sacrificing myself, and I'm sacrificing my life for the people that are asking for the ceremony, you know. Because when they tie me up, they tie me up with a noose around my neck, and they tie my body up, uh, usually going down about 7 knots every way down, all the way to my ankles. They lay me down, so it's hard. It's hard, but it's very powerful. And I just wait to. I just have complete trust in God, Creator, and the spirits that either you're gonna help me or not. And I just let it go at that. So these ceremonies. The good thing about them is they discipline you as a human being. That you have to be disciplined. You have to live by a certain code, certain structure, and when you live by that and you do these ceremonies, then it makes it so much easier to have that communication. So um, I just know that I don't mess around with it. I'm getting to now to the point where I'm going to be 62, and I'll only do it if it's like life and death. I'm not just going to do it anymore, because it takes a lot out of you as a human being, and if the people are not sincere and they're just doing it for a show and a tell thing, you're going to get hurt, or I'm going to get hurt. So I got to make sure it's for real before I do it. The purpose is, like I said, life and death. So other than that, it's been a good life. My life is straightened up over it. I helped a lot of people, because that's what was required of me. And but at the same time, it kept me healthy in a good way. So, I like to talk a lot. So, but I just know that it's going to take a lot of people all over the world to get into their spiritual life, their spiritual practices, their spiritual lifestyles, and then they can change this world. So that's what I know. And like I said, I was chosen to do this. I didn't want to do it, but I was just chosen to do it. So like I said, I avoided it for 17 years. So, and I had a hard time during that 17 years. So anyway, I want to thank you guys very much for allowing me to be on your show and sharing my thoughts and my life experiences and my stories, and all this is all true life stories. Everything I told you it's really happened in my life, and it's all true. So I say thank you. Wopida. Thank you. So okay.
Yawa. Well, both of you, all of you. Grandma Susan, you're muted.
And sorry about that. Thank you, Jim. To listen to the words that you shared and the depth of the ceremonies that you have been, heading up for us on the behalf of the people. And my first Sundance, I was 56 up on Lethbridge on the Blood Reserve. And I thought, what am I doing? What am I thinking? And my most recent Sundance, I was 72, and that was with Lauren. And I want to come and support you in Nebraska at some point, because I'll be 77 in a few weeks, and we're never too old. It scares anybody that thinks when I'm coming to their ceremonies, but that's what it's all about. And sitting up on South Island in New Zealand, I was a grandmother at one of the Leonard Crodog altar Sundances there. Nothing is random. Nothing is random when it comes to who's here talking right now. We needed everything that both of you brought to this time of being with us, with the messages from the heart of the mother, because you are both truly hollow bones, and it has been an honor to be able to sit in your presence and hear these things, because it is truly all about the people when we reach that point in our own lives, when we understand that it's red, then I believe we begin to live. So I'm really grateful. And as Jody knows, I rarely run out of words, but I'm so touched by you both. So mahalo nui loa, aloha ke akua kuleana. I am so honored to be able to say that I love you. Thank you so much, Jody.
Wow, tonight was really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, the inspiration was amazing. And messages, if you both want to come back and visit them on the Facebook, I see Grandma Gayle, you found the chat. So really like a journey around the world. And it's really humbling to sit here and to be able to create this opportunity and platform. I don't know. I hope that both of you, how many people you will touch and inspire, because you have been preserving the wisdom for us, for the next generation, for this next 7 generations, to know that this has been around for a long time, and we continue to do this together. So I usually have standard words that I read to open and close each one of these sessions. But I just wanted to say from my heart to yours, it is a true honor to sit in circle with the elders that come and share their voices. And so Nyawa, Chimigwich, Grandmother Susan, and Grandma Gayle, of course, always just totally honored grandmothers and grandfathers that shared their voices with us tonight. What was spoken here lives beyond this moment. These teachings ripple forward. They awaken something ancient in us, something that remembers who we are and why we're here. This circle remains open. The fire is still burning. We carry it now with humility, with courage, and with love. So I invite you to tend the fire in your own heart. Listen for the voices of your elders. Walk with the ancestors. Speak truth. Be gentle. And return here when time calls again. You can visit these teachings and follow the 52-week journey on Grandmother's Voice YouTube channel. And until next time, may your path be lit by the wisdom of the grandmothers and grandfathers. And may you never forget that you are part of this story too. Nyawa, thank you so much for joining us.